Hello, everybody. Welcome, folks, to Ttrpg Designer Spotlight, a special program where we uplift and showcase the work of game designers, especially game designers of marginalized identities. With that, I and this channel stand against the genocide and ethnic cleansing and support all the oppressed peoples of the world struggling against injustice, imperialism, and colonization. Free Congo, free Sudan, and free Palestine. And with that, hello everyone. I am Valiant Dorian. I use him, his pronouns, and I am a Ttrpg performer, GM, writer, and Twitch variety streamer. You can find me all around the internet at Valiant Dorian or at Otso SpiritBear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure hunt that I just set you on. Tonight, I have the distinct pleasure of interviewing our incredible guest who went to the same alma mater with me. We found out recently 3 years we were there at the same time, and like ships in the night, never met. It is incredible. She is a talented TTRPG writer and game designer, crafting wonderful gaming experiences, writing for the Chefs de Partie, Tales of Sina Una, and today's feature, her solo journaling game, Family Album. Now, before I get ahead of myself, Taylor, please introduce yourself and where we can find you.
Hey everyone, I'm Taylor Navarro. I use she, her pronouns. I am a project manager for Tales of Sina Una. I'm a game designer, writer, editor, and sometimes you can find me on actual plays if you look hard enough. You can find me on Twitter at TaylorAnnNX. If you're interested in project management stuff, I post on LinkedIn. I know that's really rare and people don't really say that about TTRPGs, but yeah. I guess go follow me on LinkedIn if you want. And also I have my website where you can like see everything that I'm doing, which is taylornavarrottrpgs.card.co. Oh no, I can't hear you anymore, Val.
Sorry, I muted myself. Now the command should be working with exclamation point Taylor, or it will not. That is fine. Thanks, Streams Elements, for hurting me specifically.
So rude. On your show.
On my own show. Here you go. Here you go. First off, why is Aaron's thing showing up? That is very rude. It's fine. But hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being patient through all the tech issues. I appreciate it. But before we get right into it, first of all, Family Album, which is this incredible game that we will be talking about, is a solo journaling game about reflecting on family and parenthood. For more information in this game, please use exclamation point album. Will it work? Maybe or not. I will do it all manually. You do not know the lengths I would go.
No!
You do not know the lengths I would go to make sure there is your link for the solo journaling game. And in fact, I'm going to make it so easy for you. I'm going to pin this lovely message for you. And I will manually unpin it at the end of stream. It'll always be at the top of the pinned tweet, not tweets, pinned chat. Just go ahead and check it out on DriveThruRPG. And if you're enjoying today's designer spotlight, please consider donating and leaving us a tip. The funds raised will be distributed evenly between the tech producer, myself, and our guest designer, Taylor. Use exclamation point donate in chat to support us. Now, without further ado, we shall now talk about Family Album. But before we continue our discussion, content warnings for this particular session of Designer Spotlight include family relationships, neglect, control, loneliness, grief, and familial conflict. Folks, please take care of yourselves. Your safety and comfort is paramount. Feel free to step away from the discussion if you need, and come back in your own time. Take some time for yourselves. We're gonna get into it today. And with that, let's chat, Taylor. Let's chat about Family Album. But first, I'm interested about you. I want to know about you because TTRPGs. TTRPGs. We're a niche within a niche. We are an experience within an experience, right? So I want to know, how did you get into the TTRPG hobby?
Okay, there is something, I've written it down, it's called the Draw Fee to TTRPG Industry Pipeline. So way
okay.
I promise.
Okay.
So college humor back in the golden age, which was right around the time that like you and I were kind of starting or like in university,
Mm-hmm.
had a show on it called Drawfee. It was Caldwell Tanner, name might sound familiar, and Nathan Yaffe, and basically they just did like 20-minute videos where they would just draw based on a random suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they did something called Dungeons and Drawfee, which was like a choose your own story, like the YouTube audience voted on where you went next kind of thing.
Ah.
And eventually that evolved into something akin to D&D, but not ever really D&D.
Okay.
But all of us on the Drawfee Discord were like, this is the greatest thing ever. They're not, like, there were no dice rolls. It was all drawn, like.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of like, oh, well, what is actual D&D like? So I was, like, part of the Drawfee Discord. It was a way for me to have friends roughly my own age because, at like 2021, I just had a baby. I was doing my final year of uni, and I just needed to talk to people. And
Yeah.
I was like, I need a hobby because I can't really do my old hobbies because like that was like clubbing and salsa dancing, and that is not very good when you've got a 7-month-old.
Oh,
But
bless.
sitting in your bedroom every Sunday night, playing with people, Dungeons and Dragons, that works really well because if the baby cries, you can just pause and walk into the next room.
That's
So I started playing D&D with a wonderful group of people, and one of them, Drew. When lockdown happened, and it was the George Floyd protests.
yes.
Drew was based in Australia, and they couldn't really do anything,
Mhm.
and I couldn't really do much at the time. So Drew wanted to make a D&D supplement to raise money for the NAACP.
Yeah.
And I love Drew dearly, and I knew that Drew would need help with this endeavor.
Mhm.
And I am quite well organized, so I said, hey, I ran a newsletter for Drawfee. I kind of know how to organize people. Let me help you. And on this
That is a
project, the Book
skill.
of
A real skill.
you know what? I would like to thank my parents for making me the eldest daughter.
Not the elder sibling to project manager pipeline.
I'm the eldest daughter. I was a mom at 21. Like, I have the leadership instincts to do the thing. It was
I can't relate. I'm the younger sibling.
good for you. Good for you. But anyway, we worked on the Book of Lost Magica, and that taught me how to do D&D editing. Like, because I had no idea what made a D&D book. So Drew and I were winging it. Like, we had like over 100 volunteers across the globe, like submitting artwork and like magic items, classes, spells, like so many things. And I was the one who was like organizing them all, moving the book to the next stage of production, which is exactly what I do for Cena Una now, except we've got a much more manageable team of, I think I'm managing like 15 on the editorial team, which is a lot easier than 100.
Oh my goodness, managing 100.
I think it was like 103 in the end, plus Drew, so like 104. But yeah, so I did that. I started D&D editing, and I was like, oh hey, I really like this. So I bullied my my game master into releasing things, so that way I could edit them, and I was like really enjoying it. And I started taking it more seriously, and he was an English teacher, so he didn't really have the time to commit. But I started looking for other work, and then I was very fortunate in. I had a second child. I was ending my maternity leave, and somebody, Anthony Joyce Rivera, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want a mentor? So that way you can progress in the industry." And I was like, "Yes, please. I've been looking for one, so I don't have to go back to my crappy job." Oh wait, hang on. Can I swear?
Yeah. Yes.
Am I
you
allowed to?
absolutely can.
Okay. Sorry.
We're an 18+ channel. We can swear here. Swear in the chat.
Oh,
We're fine with that.
Oh, thank goodness. But yeah, I was like, oh, I don't want to go back to my crappy job. Yes, please. And from there, I just started rocketing. like took a storytelling collective thing and started doing game design. I was doing editing. I started branching out, and I made Family Album is like technically my second indie game. There is a free game on my website called Dice of Life, which you can play, which is again the family theme, and it will probably come back later on.
Yeah.
But it's a game that I designed that you can't win because of the soul-sucking nature of Parenthood and the repetition.
I read the mechanics as part of the research, and I was just like, wow, Taylor. We for those of y'all in the chat, whenever I meet with designers for Designer Spotlight, we have a little chat beforehand just so we can get on the same page with a lot of things. We were talking about Family Album and a lot of themes we wanted to hit, and I was like, all right, I'll make sure to do that. Then I opened the book. And I was like, Taylor, you don't need me to hammer home those themes for you. It's there in the mechanics, well written out for you. But we will get to the mechanics in quick order. But I want to know, now that we know about your like TTRPG journey, which has been an incredible journey from like playing to like jumping straight into project management. I feel like I know a lot of folks who kind of ended up in the TTRPG AP space as well as the general like content space, designing space through that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I do want to know about like your relationship with TTRPGs. Like, what captured you about this medium specifically that continues to inspire you to create and work within it?
Okay. We're gonna do just a warning for the audience. We're about to get into what I like to call sad girl hours.
Okay. Sad girl hours.
Sad girl hours have been activated. I was a young mom. I wanted an opportunity to be someone else for a little while. Just like once a week, just for a couple of hours, be somebody who wasn't me. You know, get to have experiences I didn't get to have. Like, the first time I went on a holiday where I wasn't seeing family members was my honeymoon when I was 23. Like, that is the kind of life that I have lived. So you'll often find me playing like quite young juvenile characters with very adventurous spirits, because that's kind of like me getting out of like my shell a little bit. And then I realized, like, as I was playing and I was being someone else, oh, I'm not just restricted to like myself and then like influencing my players through my actions. I can suddenly create elements of the world, like DM willing, and most of them have been, thank goodness. And I mean, I used to be a fan fiction writer, like in my teens.
Yep, there it is.
So it's like, oh, this is like this form of storytelling is very natural for me. And as I kind of got into design, I was like, oh, I'm feeling things. And all of a sudden, I can put words in an order and use a system to make people feel what I am feeling, or make them see what I am seeing. And that is what I love. So we've got Dice of Life. I'm not sure when I published that. We've got Family Album. And then there's actually a third part of this Parenthood journey that it's kind of come through my TTRPGs, which is I wrote on Encounters in the Radiant Citadel, which was just like a little DM skills project. But my encounter is about grief and losing a parent, and like, because like Mario Ortegon, absolute icon of a designer, so wonderful, introduced Los Olvidados, which is like almost like Revenants, but not quite, more leaning into like the Mexican Day of the Dead, people who have died and then come back.
I see.
And I was like, oh, in D&D you fight skeletons and these people look like skeletons, you know. So it's like, well, they're undead, but they're a different kind of undead skeleton. Well, what happens if you mix up a regular skeleton with an Olvidado? Like, like how would somebody handle that grief?
Yeah.
Like, so like in this encounter, you see a woman begging in the street to like help you get her mother to I can't remember what words I used, but you know, like the clerics essentially.
Yes.
because she was sick and then she died, and clearly she's come back.
Yeah.
But she hasn't come back as an Olvidado. She's come back as something else. And so you've got to protect her, deal with her mother in whatever way that your party chooses to deal with it, and then kind of watch that grief unfold, because there's like specific instructions. The NPC will interfere, you know,
I see.
and it's like, okay, because I was feeling sad about situations with my own mother. And I was able to kind of like channel that into something, and I made an experience that I don't know if it ever kind of like truly reached anyone, but the people who saw it as it was in development kind of saw something like something a little bit about me, a little bit of my soul kind of went into that.
Yeah.
As it did with License to Life, as it did in a big way with Family Album. And I love being able to share part of myself and like that experience that I'm having with other people, and be like, oh hey, you might be feeling this too, and if you do, it's okay, I see you. And you can kind of go through this, because like people say that like playing D&D is like cheaper than therapy. Yes and no. Like you should always do it with like a consenting group, but like also like it kind of is like so cathartic in some ways. And I love like TTRPGs. Like one of the things I absolutely love about like Chaos Protocol is how like you've all put like such deeply personal experiences.
Oh boy,
and you play them out.
Arc something in Arc 1.
Don't tell me, no spoilers, no spoilers. I'm getting there. I'm working so hard.
Damn, I'm in for it.
But like it's such a real like human emotional experience that you can see playing out. And then it's okay, so maybe the person playing at home isn't like an incredible like performer, but they still get to have that experience because like I've written down a set of parameters that allow them to have that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I hope that answered the question.
Yo, it absolutely
it's just started going on one.
No. That's what this conversation is about, because like, you know, a lot of folks, when we look at designers, I feel like there's this whole like mysticism that's kind of like enshrouding a lot of designers and a lot of game design, where we just kind of go, oh yes, a person shows up into a word processing document of their program of their choice, and they just hammer out a game, and that's how it be. But I love getting into this element of kind of like, hey, these are game designers with their own set of experiences, own set of backgrounds, and they make cool games. Let's showcase them. It's not, games look like a plethora of different things. Designers look like a plethora of different people and of different experiences, and that's part of the experience of Designer Spotlight, baby. But yes, you did absolutely answer that question. And you kind of already answered my next question, which is about how did you get into game design. So instead, I'm going to kind of like shift that aspect of game design and question, ask you, did you, when you entered into the game design space from a project management standpoint, did you find designing specifically as a skill and getting into that like writing daunting, or did you feel like you were well equipped from the get-go to game design?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna sound a little bit braggy. But
Brag.
I think
here's the space. Brag.
Okay, so yes, I was very well prepared. Yes and no. So like I did project management, and then I kind of, no, I didn't really step down. I kept doing it, just like not with the official title.
I was gonna be like, you're project managing for Tales of Cena Una. You did not.
Look, I'm one of those people. I enter a project, I see that the project manager maybe needs a hand, and I'm like, how can I help? It's just who I am. It's just who I am. But no. So I mainly focus on editing. And because I started designing for D&D, and I maintain that D&D is the easiest system to learn how to do major game design. Like with the little asterisk of like you can do Caltrop Core, you can do Iron Core. There are so many like loads of like small SRDs that you can use. But like if you want to work for like as a freelancer, D&D is the most accessible way to learn how to design for games, because you have to learn the style guide, you have to learn like all of that stuff. So because I came in that way through editing, I knew the style guide, I knew how to write, I knew the way that things should sound.
Yep.
Because I'd been taught, because I did the research, because I literally just read passages and it's like, okay, so if I wanted to make my own, I need to be using this word, this word, this word.
Yes.
So when it came to writing, I was like, well, my work is obviously still going to need to be edited,
Mhm.
but for D&D anyway, like I've started in a very strong place.
Yes.
And then when I started branching out, it got a little bit scarier because it's like, okay, right, I'm going off of the rails. I'm choosing how I want the style to be. I'm choosing, which words are going to be bolded, like
Yeah.
what headings am I going to use, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I was quite confident in my own abilities and being able to kind of choose the things that I needed to convey the emotion that I wanted because I'd had the practice. So it's like a step at a time.
Yeah.
But I like editing because I used to be a beta reader for fan fiction. So again,
You hear that,
fan
folks?
fiction incredibly
Fan fiction.
relevant.
Incredibly relevant.
Yeah.
I do love that, but like I truly think the TTRPG space is so unique and so unlike many spaces, because where else will you get your theater kids, your fanfiction writers, your like RP forum enjoyers?
Did that as well briefly. I did.
Listen, a lot of people at Transplanar can absolutely empathize with you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. It's again, the fanfiction theater kid RP forum pipeline into TTRPGs is very, very real.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say it. I used to be a part of not even an RP forum. No, not even anything as elegant as that. I was a part of role-playing Facebook groups. That
What? No, you weren't.
Yes,
I did that.
Several RP Facebook groups.
Val, you're pulling my leg.
I'm not.
Okay, right. So, full disclosure, I haven't spoken about this on the internet at all.
Yeah.
You know how you used to, like, for the Facebook RP groups, you had to, like, make your own page as the character? I was Luna Lovegood. Back before we knew J.K. Rowling was a TERF, like, back when Harry Potter was good.
Yeah.
Like, that was me, and I've never spoken about it because I've never met anyone else other than like my sister who did it with me at the time.
Me.
Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know other people did that.
Keith, not the Habbo Hotel. I also was in Habbo Hotel. We're outing all of our.
Wait, hang on, is that
not Habbo Hotel? Me, same. Keith, we're the same. Anyway, but like, I 100% feel you. I not only was in Facebook RP groups, I used to be an admin for the Persona Games community page. That was at the time the biggest fan page. It no longer is, I'm pretty sure, but at the time it was. And one of the criteria for being an admin was that you had to constantly be in character when you're posting, and you had to take a Persona character to perform as you are posting. So, like, and look at me now. I'm in TTRPG actual play. Look how that has happened. This
like,
is
you're doing fantastic. You're in some great stuff. So, like, incredible actor.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really I do enjoy my work. I just find it very funny to hear about folks' origin stories. It's one of the main reasons I like asked that question about TTRPGs and how folks get into it, because I'm like, which one are you? Are you the theater kid? Are you the fanfic writer? Like, are you an RP forum person? Like, how did you get here? But yeah, I love that so much. A slight aside from what I'm going to ask you, and a question I ask all of my designers, because I think it's a fun question. What do you think is core? What is Taylor core in a game that you design?
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm asking you to out yourself. All these questions, I'm like, I need you
Okay.
to explicitly out yourself.
I'm gonna make you feel sad about your family. That's it. That is Taylor Core.
Just like Kabikushi Kabika, making you sad about your family. I love that,
Like,
the Bollywood movie.
honestly, like I'm trying to think of the things I kind of design. Like it's like the main thing that I'm dealing with at the moment. Like I tend to just kind of like I said, I put a little bit of my soul in there, and my soul is quite sad. It's sad girl hours, y'all. But yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna make you feel sad about your relationship with your parents. And I think that's Taylor Core, and I'm sorry.
That's so funny to me. That's so deeply like funny to me, because in my mind it's just like, yeah, I know, because when I interviewed Aaron a few days ago, folks who might have seen, when I interviewed Aaron, I asked him the same question. He was very much like, oh, I don't know what an Aaron game is. And then as we kept going and talking about like mechanics and design choices he likes, it became more and more, oh yeah, I guess that is also Aaron Core, and I guess that's also Aaron Core. And I'm like, yes it is. I could have told you, but yeah, I wanted you to come to that realization. And yeah, Sad Girl Hours definitely feels very you, and very particular to this game, actually. I mean, this is a game that is clearly a love letter to families, and I think specifically to the experience of parenthood, even to folks who haven't experienced it or who will not experience it. And I think that's a great segue for us to talk about Family Album, which is a huge reminder to folks. Family Album is a solo journaling game about parenthood and family. Content warnings for our discussions. Look at above for this lovely little bar that I designed on Canva.com. Familial relationships, grief, control, neglect, and familial conflict. Please take care of yourselves. Take whatever rest that you need as we navigate chatting about inspiration, about Family Album, and the process. So, first question I'd love to ask: what inspired the game? What inspired Family Album?
It's a mixture, actually. The main inspiration is actually my children. I love my children dearly, and we live in an age where you can take photos on your phone all the time. You know, and something I noticed as I was looking through photos with my kids is that I wasn't in a lot of them. And I asked my husband, well, what do you have on your phone? And on his phone, I wasn't in a lot of them still. Like, I was hardly in any of them. And it's like, oh, that makes me feel a way. And then I looked at my own baby photos because I was given them. And my mum is in them, but only like in events where there was family around. So like obviously there's the ones from the day I was born, and like she's in my first birthday photos and in Christmas photos, but like in the normal day-to-day photos she's not there, you know. And it's like, oh, and I heard this thing on the internet, I can't remember where. It's called the proof of mom. It's this idea that you know, moms are the ones who are in charge of orchestrating like events and in charge of capturing that moment. And this like I do make sure in the mechanics I kind of make it a more gender neutral term, because I know that that's not the case in all families. Like sometimes it'll be the dad or whatever title a parent wants to be called. But there's usually one parent who's the primary caregiver, who is also the designated photographer. Who orchestrates and catches all of the moments and doesn't appear in it. And it made me feel sad. It made me feel so sad, because when you look at a photo, do you think about who took the photo? Because I don't. And as I grew up, like my mum was a photographer, and the only times that she was in photos was when she like orchestrated like the family portrait that we took every couple of years. You know, because again, she was always behind the camera, and I would watch her behind the camera. And it like at the time, like when you're a kid, you don't really think about it. But now being a mother myself, I was like, oh no, this is not. This is this is bad. I'm literally scanning for photos. And then in some of the photos, this is a content warning for like neglect in a way. Like when my son was born, and he came home from the hospital, and some photos were taken. Like my husband looking perfect as always, very handsome man. Like my daughter looking like a little angel. Like my son looking like a newborn baby. And then there's me with my greasy hair that's not even brushed because nobody took 5 minutes to say, "Hey Taylor, go brush your hair so we can take some nice photos." So the only photos I have of my son from when I've come home from hospital, I look awful.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel bad looking at those photos. And I was like, okay, we need to do something with this emotion because it's just kind of sitting here.
Yeah.
And so I made family album. I was like, this is a solo game. This is something that you experience on your own.
Yeah.
Because I mean, looking through a photo album can be a communal act, but the reflection part of it really is like a introspective experience.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, solo game. Like I did some research in different solo games, and I kind of developed it from there, from that core of, and like the game can be played, and like when I did playtesting feedback, like there are happy ways to play this game. Like
to know.
there are. It just like the thing is, it depends on your mindset when you go into it.
I see.
Like for me, and just my relationship with photography, and like with parenthood, childhood in general. Like I always went into this with like a sad feeling, but it let me explore that sadness.
Yeah.
In a way. But actually, it can also be used as an educational tool.
Yes.
As well. So like one of the pieces of feedback that I got was from somebody. I'm gonna keep this very vague because I didn't
no worries.
like they but it was somebody who like played this game, had a good experience playing it, and then went and visited their mom. And like they were looking through photo albums, and they knew that their mom didn't notice, but they noticed that their mom wasn't in the photos, like hardly in any of them. And like they even said, because I left a like space for feedback, like just additional feedback, but you could write anything on the feedback form. And they're like, yeah, I'm planning to become a parent in a couple of years, and this is gonna change the way that like I'm going to make sure that both me and my partner are in photos with our kid at the same time, and also like individually. So it can also be like an educational game, and you can have a good experience just like reliving creating good fictional memories with your imaginary kid. Like it can be nice, but it can also, if you're like me and you engage in sad girl hours, it can be a sad game too. It's versatile.
Yeah, I love hearing that, and I also we touched on a very, very interesting element here, like societally, of the role of the mother, right? And yes, understanding that parenthood and family dynamics differ from family to family and person to person, right? But I think also there is space to acknowledge the fact that the burden on women and motherhood is so incredibly specific. Before reading this game, I was familiar with the phenomenon of the proof of mom. I through online kind of like zeitgeist conversations about especially now, I think with the younger generation becoming parents, and where like the millennials and Gen Zers, like early Gen Zers are becoming parents at this point in time. And I think there's a lot more conversation, a lot more awareness now, and also more opportunity to share more stories about the day-to-day, because I think in those days folks weren't publicizing necessarily everyone's day-to-day. But with social media, with the way that society has shifted, we now have seen we can see what folks' lives are like through a screen, sort of through many layers. And that was a phenomenon that I I remember watching a TikTok of a mother kind of venting slash lamenting about the constant role that she plays of having to be the person that organizes things, that curates family experiences. And not that she's not proud and happy to do it, but she's also human, and it also understands that if she doesn't do it, nothing will happen, right? And also
Yeah.
this sort of
Yeah.
idea of the family photo and booking out, like if you were planning a professional photo shoot, calling, like she's doing the calling, she's contacting the photographer, they're setting up the shots, and she needs to get the kids ready, get them dressed, sort out the theme. It's all of these things. It's tasks upon tasks upon tasks to curate a memory. And so after like kind of having that in the back of my head, I read your book, read family album, and read through the introduction section. I was like, yeah, and it made me think even before I got to like the game rules, just that first page section there where we talk about kind of the premise of the game. I remember sitting there going like, yeah, I don't think I've thought, even though I have an understanding of the burden of motherhood, I didn't think about the person behind the camera. Like when we look at photos, that is the frame of mind of look at these lovely memories, look at these lovely photos. We don't think about what's not in the photo, or who is not in the photo. And
Exactly.
that has fundamentally kind of like shifted my mindset as well, because we're in the holidays. This is the memory making time. We are very on theme and on brand here with our planning a designer spotlight here. I'm very proud of that. But it definitely, I have not like fully played the game, but it already kind of made me go, huh, this is something for me to keep in mind, because my brother and I are taking on a lot more responsibility in like curating the family experience this year, and I think that's great.
Nice.
I think that's
Yeah,
great.
I love that.
It's nice to take stuff off my mother's plate, and after reading the introduction to your game, it made me go, maybe this too, maybe this as well. Maybe that's something her two sons can also help out with. Is sorting
But
out
that
family
is
photos, creating
actually
memories.
But that is actually something. So I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that you don't actually necessarily need to play this game to get the experience that I want you to have. What you have just said means that my writing already worked.
Yes. Love
like
that.
so this is a game. If you play it, fantastic. But when I kind of got the first kind of playtest feedback, and I kind of shift, like you shift things around a little bit. One of the things that kind of clicked into place was the target audience for me. And this game is targeted at two people. The people like me who take the photos, the designated photographer, and their partners or people in their community. Like basically the idea that I really wanted was you read this because TTRPGs are, or they used to be, a very like kind of mask dominated field, and we're getting more like, it's not that we're getting more diversity, people are being louder about being in the space. But if a partner or a community member picks up this game and they read that introduction and their mind goes to a designated photographer, and they change their behavior because of it, then the game has done exactly what I needed it to do without them picking up a pen and paper at all.
I love that so much. I love that so much, because it fundamentally did change my perspective, and it did make me sort of reflect on how not only I as a child, but I as a son, I as a man, as a partner, recently married partner.
Congratulations, your
thank you.
photos are beautiful.
KP is an absolute wizard. You should go and check it out on Instagram and on Twitter. He captured our surprise proposal photo shoot. It was very, very sweet. and now I get to be like every single like Facebook partner that's like, I will no longer be shutting up about any of these photos. I will keep sharing them between 2 to 3 months. I'll be insufferable because they're gorgeous and I paid money for them, and
You
I
deserve
deserve
it.
to yell about them.
Yes. They're like, oh my goodness, you and your partner are so handsome. You look so good.
Thank you so
Like,
much. We're
oh,
so
it's fantastic.
KP is a brilliant photographer. You should hire him.
Mhm.
But yeah, you know, we just talked about kind of like this huge sort of reflection point, and it seems like this amount of reflection is something that is core to a solo journaling game. So I wanted to ask you about your process of choosing solo journaling as the main sort of like game, not necessarily mechanic, but like game system
Yeah.
for this particular experience, and what makes that experience unique.
Okay. Oh, this is a big question.
Yeah.
I So there was like a big like you know, like all industries have fads. There was like a solo journaling fad that we're kind of at the tail end of now. I think duets are gonna be the next thing, by the way. Like I'm
Yeah.
calling it now.
As someone who has an older brother and would love to play more games, please make more duets. We would love that, both of us.
But yeah, so like there were loads of solo journaling games. And I knew that I wanted this to be like an individual experience because when you play with other people, for better or worse, they interfere with the narrative. And when you're trying to reflect on an experience that you have, other voices in the room aren't helpful. So I knew this was going to be a solo game. And I was like, well, you can't talk out loud to yourself because I do it. But that's a bit weird. Like, just like, oh, I don't even know. Like, it's okay because I can pretend I'm talking to the toddler or the dog, but like if somebody comes in, but it was a case of okay, right. Well, you're gonna write this down then. Like, so like the journaling is an important aspect of it. Recording it. Something I would really one day love to do is I would like to commission this as an art game. Where you draw the cards and then like you draw it and like have this art done, but I want to be able to pay an artist fairly to play my game and make art for it. So like that is like one of those when I earn big money, as we all do in TTRPGs.
Listen,
I'll get that done.
Every time I talk to a designer about not just necessarily a designer spotlight, but whatever, I'm like, future plans, where are you going, like what are your big dreams? And it's always like, when I get more money, I'm gonna do more TTRPG stuff, just with better budget and greater production value.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Honestly, like with game designers are so poor, help us please.
Yeah,
but
speaking of that, as you can see, I already posted the link again for the Drive-Thru RPG link for Family Album. Go and buy it. It is really, really cool.
Thank you. I do just want to say for people in the chat, if you can't buy it, if you look at the bottom of the text, there is a link where you can get the game for free. Because I don't think the game should be gatekept by finances because everyone is in a different situation. So if you or somebody you know might benefit from reading this game and they can't afford it, go click that link and you can just have it.
That is amazing. I love that. That's an aspect about like TTRPGs, especially self-publishing space, that I really love and appreciate. The idea of community copies, pay what you want, and things like that, and making these experiences accessible, not only in the typical ways we think of accessibility, but also financial. I think it's very, very important, especially a game that's this important. I want more people to, even if they don't journal or read the game, or they struggle with journaling, just read it. Just it's 6 pages. Just read it.
It's not long.
It's not
and
long.
Honestly, it could have been less than that, but I got very into it, and I was like, oh, what if we had all of these variations on how you could play? Because I liked messing around with the mechanics, and I was like, oh, if you want to have this experience again, then you should be able to do it in a different way.
Absolutely. And I love that. It is really, really cool. And with that, lovely folks, we're about 15 minutes into our designer spotlight. We might go and hop off and get a quick break. And when we come back, we will be exploring the family album rulebook. We're going to talk about solo journaling mechanics. We're going to go through the game's premise. I get to gush about all the aspects of the game that we'd like to reflect on and I enjoy personally. And we're gonna have a grand old wonderful time. Do not touch that dial. This is an opportunity for all of us, including yourselves, to take a break. So get up, stretch, pet your pets, tell them Mr. Valiant Dorian loves them very, very much, and we will be right back. Amazing. Take care, everyone. We will see you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome back from break. It's so lovely to see all your lovely faces here in chat. We really, really appreciate you sticking around for so long. A quick reminder, this is Designer Spotlight. This is the special programming here on the Otso SpiritBear channel where we interview game designers and uplift their work, especially if you're a game designer or marginalized experience. And if you are a designer or marginalized experience, my, do I have a thing for you. You should go and register to be on the show. I will be more than happy to host more designers. Please, I love that this, why isn't any of my commands working?
No.
I'm so mad. Why aren't they work? I'm going to stream elements. We're going to have words. We're going to have words after this. Please go and check out. Meet me outside. Please go and check out this wonderful, wonderful command and go and register for Designer Spotlight. And today we're talking to the lovely Taylor and about a solo journaling experience known as Family Album. And with that, before we continue our discussion, reminder again of the content warnings. Content warnings include familiar relationships, grief, control, neglect, and familial conflict. And with that, let's talk about the game of Family Album and talk about the rulebook and the mechanics. Amazing. So we open up the book. So again, this book is 6 pages long. This isn't a thick book by any means. You know, this isn't a 1,000-year-old vampire where it's a literal novel. Watch when I purchased that in Big Bad Con and had to figure out how I was gonna add one more thing to the luggage bag. It was a great experience for me packing in Big Bad Con.
Nice.
So this is a huge experience, but it is also a very specific experience because this is, when you open up, the first page you see is a lovely photograph and you see Family Album and the text that reads, a card-based solo journaling RPG about a parent looking through your family photos. And I want to talk about that introduction is such a specific experience to be designing for and kind of like working towards. When I first stepped into the game design space, it was kind of like whenever I would tune into what players are looking for and what folks are talking about in the wider space, there's this whole conversation of like ensuring games can cater to a wide array of like engagement experiences, way of kind of like playing different like strategies of playing within the game, right? It's one of the things that has made my own game kind of expanded beyond what it has begun with. So I wanted to ask you about that choice as a designer to curate a very, very specific experience. What was the thought process behind that?
I guess the thought process was like to address this idea of like catering to the masses. It was no, fuck off, I refuse. It was like because it's like, okay, if you want to play something that like everyone can play their own play style, go pick up D&D or Pathfinder or Call of Cthulhu or like your mainstream system of choice. I am a strong believer that if you're gonna make an indie game, make an indie game. Make it as specific as you want to, because like just because you make it specific, this is like you said with that introductory sentence, this is so niche But that doesn't mean that only parents are going to enjoy it,
Yeah.
because I specifically made sure in my playtesters that I had non-parents
Mm-hmm.
playing, people who didn't plan to have children, people who might want to have children in the future. I didn't ask like
Mm-hmm.
specifics, but I do know that I had like a variety of people, because like TTRPGs is about creating an experience, sharing an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you kind of have to do it yourself with these bigger systems.
Yeah.
So with this small, I don't even really want to call it a system,
Yeah.
but like with this small game, it's like, okay, no, we're gonna focus it on like this one thing that I can't get out of my head, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do what I can to kind of relay this thing that I'm feeling to a different, or like to somebody who is not me.
Yeah.
That photo, by the way, is of my eldest daughter, who is the main inspiration behind this game.
I saw that, and when I tell you, I need you all to understand is that I'm not afraid to admit this. I'm a very soft man. I cry very, very easily. And I saw this and I was like, oh, baby. That's so sweet. What a wonderful dedication. And a great gaming experience. I just love it. I just love it so much.
Thank you.
The next element is about kind of the playing cards element of the game, kind of structuring the solo journaling experience to a again, we don't have to call it a system, but with a structure of 54 playing cards, including the Joker. Was there a particular inspiration to use playing cards?
Yeah, so this was kind of directly inspired by a game called Her Odyssey.
Mm,
Oh my goodness, I can't remember who wrote that game. But you can, if you type in Her Odyssey on itch.io, it
mm-hmm.
will come up.
I will find it.
And thank you. I'll vamp while you do that. So um um I read
Found
that
it.
game, and who's it? Who's it?
So, this has been written by I. This is what happens when you make the window tiny. S. Kaya J. Is the
Mm.
writer of this game. I'm posting the link in the chat for folks to go and check it out.
I really like Her Odyssey. It's one I've played a couple of times now.
Hmm.
Um, but um, in this game, you use a pack of playing cards, and it prompts a scene. The numbers do different things, um, but when I was kind of thinking, right, well, how am I going to generate these photos? A pack of cards kind of made sense as having something physical that you can have. And then it's like, oh, well, obviously the numbers line up with like the age of a child.
Mm.
So you're stuck in that like childhood window.
Yeah.
Um, and the Jokers are rare cards, and I think they're involved in the win condition in Her Odyssey. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense, because it's like, well, how do you win the game? When I was designing, I was like, okay, well, you could just play this indefinitely then and just keep drawing prompts, but
Yeah.
all things have to end.
Yep.
How, like, what do I want this ending to be? How do I want you to win? Oh, you
Hmm.
win by finding a photo of you with your child.
Mm-hmm.
How do we decide when that happens? You pull a joker. Like, it just felt very kind of natural to be like, you don't need you don't need dice for this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that, because role playing is like, you could just play narrative only games. Like, that would be fantastic. You don't need dice
Yeah.
to make it a TTRPG.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, right, let's get rid of dice. Dice aren't. I'm a dice dragon. I love dice, and I was like, no, no dice here. This is not the space for you. A pack of cards, something simple,
Mm-hmm.
because what are photos if not bendy pieces of card
That's true.
with something interesting on it? So
That's true.
yeah, that was kind of, yeah. I feel like I'm just talking in circles a little bit
No,
now,
no,
but
you're
yeah,
not talking in
cards felt.
circles. You're making a lot of sense. Because, like, I'm always curious as to what structures a game. Because everyone has
Mhm.
different reasons. And when I first read the game and I saw Oh, is playing cards. A structure that is very familiar in the game, especially in the indie game design space of how to structure like games.
Hmm.
But this is probably the first game in my experience that I saw the jokers being included. Usually you remove them,
Yeah.
which I found very very interesting, and I kept reading on and seeing like, oh, this game could end pretty fast. Actually, this could be a very very quick reflection activity, depending on how the cards go. Which is
Yeah.
really really neat. It is really really neat and cool. I like that.
Thank
There's a lot of like replay value, kind of in that
you. Hmm.
sense. And I do also want to shout out the fact that you do have a content warning section, which is a form of safety
Oh.
tool
Hmm.
here in this game, which I think is very very cool. It's something that I notice a lot more in indie books now, and I think
Hmm.
now with like bigger titles, with like Candela Obscura, for example, also including this. But yeah, it seemed that you were immediately like, oh, I want to say something about that. Yes, go ahead, say what you wanted to say about that.
Actually, that was actually not uh, initially in that.
Mm.
My editor, Purna at Purna Writes on Twitter, um, was the one who's like, Taylor, you need to put content warnings in here. And I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
Like, like it's one of those things that you don't initially always think about because you're like, oh, yes, I'm focused on the mechanics. And no, actually, like content warnings and aftercare, like Purna was fantastic. She's influenced this game in a
Mhm.
couple of ways, like not just as the editor, but she was like content warnings. And there's something in the when you pull a diamond card. Initially, I
Mm.
had it just as like a holiday, and she was the one who's like, "Hey Taylor, some people might not celebrate holidays at all. So, what do
Mm.
they do when they pull this card?" And I was like, she was like, maybe have like just a random day off, and I was like, yes, of course, because when you're
Mm.
designing, like you have like such a narrow field of view. It's like
Oh
this
yeah.
is what I want it to be, and Porno was fantastic in opening my eyes and
Mhm.
like making me think about this in another way. And the second she said content warnings, I was like, okay, when I talk about this game now, I always want to have those content warnings there because it
Mm.
is a like the chat said earlier, it's this is a deep game.
Yeah.
This is something that not everyone's going to be able to handle listening to this conversation, and that's completely valid, and they should be warned ahead of time. So it's why I was saying to you when we had our initial chat, it's like
Yeah.
we need content warnings on the screen because I'm happy to engage in sad girl hours, but not everyone is.
Hmm. No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Too, because again, like in any game that kind of engages with topics that are difficult, it is so important that we take care of, and not only like take care of ourselves, but as designers when we're curating these experiences, encourage other folks to kind of take care as well, especially with a helpful transformation here in the TTRPG space where we value safety, as well
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
kind of like curating your own gaming experiences. You'll have more fun, I promise. The reason why I say this is because every single time I decide I want to talk about safety tools, the TTRPG wheel of discourse turns back into safety tools again. It is my burden, and
Val, stop it! Stop talking about it, so we
I
can have some new
I
discourse,
know.
please.
I'm so sorry to be burdening us constantly about this. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Um
It's okay. I'd rather have that discourse than the evil fantasy racist has come up again, like within the past day or so. Like, oh,
I
discourse is discoursing over the
it's a
outside.
wheel. It's a little wheel that keeps happening, and I keep having to hear about it. And I'm like, can you not, please? Actually, I
Yeah.
am truly uninterested. But
Mhm.
anyways, with all of
Mhm.
that said, we don't have to talk about shitty TTRPG scores. We're here to talk about a cool, reflective game, and let's talk about in this cool, reflective game. We're playing a parent. So your character gen is you're creating a parent, right? And you're a parent of a
Mhm.
child who is now a teenager. Again, back to that theme of specificity. And in creating your character, you have a set of questions here that are reflective. A lot of these are very, very general questions, such as name, pronouns, name of children. But I find it so interesting that when there are a couple of questions here that I wanted to point out that seem innocuous, but it made
Mhm.
me go, huh, I wonder how the experience would change depending on how you view this. And that's the question of, do you have multiple children? Was one of the questions you asked when character creating here, and what the age difference is. Do you share the same parents? And I remember reading that and going, oh, I wonder how the solo journaling experience would change, depending on when you're reflecting over your experience with like being the designated photographer parent of one child versus multiple. As a parent of multiple children, do you feel that? Do you feel that there's a distinct difference of that experience?
I think yes, but that's because I've learned
Hmm.
from my first child to my second. There's a 4-year age gap,
Hmm.
um, and I have learned a lot from kind of not seeing myself in those
Hmm.
photos with my first child.
Hmm.
I have been making more of an effort to make sure I'm catching up with both children
Yes.
now. So there are more photos. I am more active in doing it. And my wonderful sister who is in the chat, who has been around since I started, like who knew about me creating this game and stuff, also started stepping up and trying to help me take more family photos, as part, like
Hmm.
in partly in response to me making this game.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of how it would affect gameplay, this is something I've never been an only child.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I'm
Older sibling.
like oldest sibling, but also I technically have an older sibling in a different country,
I
so
see.
I have never been like an only child.
Yeah.
Um, so when like I look at photos, like there are lots of times where I'm alone, but in a lot of my photos as well, there's the rest of my siblings.
Mm.
And this game, I think if you try and focus on too many children, the scope gets too big and you kind of lose focus.
Mm.
But it is something like, oh, all of a sudden you have access to a cast of like recurring characters, if you want to. And
Yeah.
there's also something in like there are roleplay questions for when you're looking at your prompt,
Mm-hmm.
and like I specifically asked about what is happening outside of the photo as well.
Yes.
So they can come in there as well. Like there are different places that like these other fictional kids can kind of inform what is happening,
Mm-hmm.
just like other community members can inform what is happening. Um, but it goes from, I think having multiple children makes it go from like a very lonely thing of just like a parent and their child
Mm.
to it makes you can, if you want to, make your world like more fleshed out, like have more
Yeah.
people there, like make it more reflective of your own experience, because like I'm one of 6 kids, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
we don't all share the same parents, and that's okay. We're not
Yeah.
all gonna always be in a photo,
Mm.
but you know, we're all always there. Yeah, we're always there.
Yeah.
Like none of us like kind of stop existing for like a blip, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, it's true. I mean, I mentioned before I'm a younger sibling. My brother and I are very, very close. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, it made me think of like moments of photography with like, especially because I was overseas a lot for a lot, and I
mm,
missed out on a lot of family experiences being overseas. I lived in the UK for several years. When I lived in the States for a few years, I also missed out on some like family. Like I missed my because of COVID, I missed my cousin's engagement, or my elder cousin
mm,
sister's engagement, which is a big
mhm.
deal, big deal in Desi culture. That whole journey to marriage is like we're making it a big thing
You
the
know
whole
how
way.
to celebrate it, and honestly, I think it's beautiful.
It's so much fun. But I did miss out on it. On like several sort of like family activities, and it made me go, huh. I wonder like when when we look back. If I look back at those photos now after reading this game, I wonder what feelings would come up, like going, oh yeah, I wasn't there, or like, oh yeah, my brother wasn't there, and how I would feel about it as a sibling. Which is very interesting. You've asked very very poignant questions here. The other question I found very poignant was, why are you looking through your family album? Are you just looking for a picture with your child for a particular purpose, or is it for general reflection? I think that's really cool, because that I have remembered very very organic circumstances in my family. When we look through our family albums just for the shits and giggles, someone stumbled onto it while deep cleaning the cupboard one day. And instead of continuing the cleaning, we've now sat on the couch and we're now looking through all of the photos.
Though.
It's really cute. I do enjoy that, but it's nice to think about all those fun little scenarios. But the thing I do want to look at in particular, I find very very interesting, is your character stats. You have character stats here, folks. You have 3 stat points to distribute as you wish between 2 statistics: a community statistic and fatigue. Each statistic is maxed out at 3 points. It impacts how the game is played. Community, as a particular stat, is it reflects your community. It represents the significant people in your life that are there to kind of like be involved in the raising of the child, who are like pillars of support that you would have as a parent here. They can be found family, friends, neighbors. The higher your community score, the more likely your character is in the photo with the child. Fatigue represents how tired your character was raising their child. The fatigue can come from mental health challenges, working multiple jobs, or being a single parent. The higher your fatigue, the fewer photos there are in your album. This is a very interesting choice, Taylor, to have these particular statistics. Do you want to expand on why these particular statistics and how you kind of like design these?
Yeah. So, again, we've thrown away dice. We don't want dice in this game.
Dice. Get them out of here.
We don't want dice. But a key part of what makes a TTRPG is that you have stats.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what actually impacts you taking photos, or you appearing in photos if you're not taking them? And it's like, okay, well, first of all, the number of people that you have around you, and everybody's support network looks different.
Yeah.
So like if I was statting myself as a character in this, I would probably have a community of 0 and a fatigue of 3. Because my community is like so small that it doesn't always like impact how often photos are taken of me. Yeah. And that's okay. It's just the way it is. But it's like the more, like the thing that I noticed when looking through my own family photos is that the more like where there are events where there are more people, there is a wider variety of people, and then like my parents show up more in those photos. So, like the number of people who are around, people passing the camera, people choosing to take those photos, is a big impact on whether the photos exist at all. And then the other one is fatigue, because like being a parent is tiring. I think it was before we started, I spoke about the baseline level of exhaustion that you feel as a parent.
Yeah, when we were in the lobby before we got on. Yeah.
And it's like, because the thing is, when you're tired, like you watch your kid do something funny and you're like, ha.
Yeah.
But like when you've got like a little bit more energy, like, oh, I should take a photo of this so I can show my partner later.
Yes.
You know, and I can then explain the story behind it. So exhaustion made sense. Like I said, we've dispensed with dice. So what should these stats do? Because stats being a key part of TTRPGs, they need to matter.
Yes.
Right? And I was like, oh, they'll change how the deck works, because 54 prompts is a lot. Like if both your jokers end up being tucked at the back, or I think that I even write in the mechanics, like you can choose to put them just at the bottom of the pile if you want to. Like that's a lot of cards. That's a very long time of playing, and long games of self-reflection can just kind of lead to sad girl spirals, and we don't want sad girl spirals.
No sad girl spirals.
We want this to be contained to like hours, not days.
Only sad girl hours, no sad girl spirals.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. So it's like, okay, right, well, what makes the game faster?
Mm-hmm.
Removing cards and drawing more cards at once.
I see.
Um, so fatigue, I think, is the one where, yeah, fatigue is the one where you remove the cards from the deck. You
Mm-hmm.
remove 10 cards per point of fatigue that you have, because that's 10 less opportunities that you had to take photos of your
Yeah.
kids. And then community is when you're like getting the prompts.
Mm-hmm.
You draw more cards because there were more people who could have taken the photo. Um, and I thought that that was a very good kind of way to incorporate that key element of TTRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. The thing that I was very specific with when I was creating this game is you can't fail.
Yeah.
Like, you will find the photo. It
Mm.
might take a while, but like we all know it's in there.
Yes.
You just got to get to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so this is how we make the stats matter. Is
Mm.
we just change how your album looks.
Yeah.
But it's all still the same core content.
That is so neat and so cool. There's an aspect in there in your answer that I find very, very interesting, which made me reflect. Again, this is a game that this is a conversation not about let's analyze game design mechanics to the nitty gritty. This is a show where we talk about the design, or we talk about experiences, we talk about stories within stories that reflect reality and reflect society. And hearing fatigue, when I read fatigue in this book, prepping for this interview, I was like, oh, we're going hard, okay? Like that's where this is sad girl hours, TM,
Yes.
and I read that, and it was just kind of like I found myself in a place of kind of like I don't expect myself to be a parent. That's my personal choice. The closest thing to parenthood that I'll be experiencing is raising my dog, which honestly kind of feels like I'm taking care of a toddler constantly.
Hey, I'm as a parent, and I will like I don't care. I'm gonna speak for all other parents, even if they lie to you. Having a dog and having a toddler is absolutely identical. It's just that the dog stays a toddler forever, and the toddler eventually grows up and gets some level of independence and learns to wipe their own ass. Like, it
That's
really
true.
is like it's awfully similar. We got a dog recently, and like my toddler doesn't like brushing his teeth. My dog doesn't like having his dental shoes. Like like
It's
my toddler leaves their toys everywhere. The dog leaves his toys everywhere. Like, they're the same.
it's the same. It's the same experience.
Exact same experience.
That's the closest thing to parenthood that I will feel. And reading this particular stat made me think about how we as people around the family, like around them, especially in particular the burden of motherhood, right? The very especially so because there's that layer of sexism, very 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 clear sexism of like what we deem as like duties for women and duties for mothers. And reading this made me go, oh my goodness, there actually isn't a lot of grace societally for a
Yeah.
fatigued parent. There is always this pressure to be in every moment present, in every moment emotionally available. And I was thinking about your story that you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the inspiration behind this game, and a photo of you coming back from the hospital and you're like fatigued and not feeling your best, not really feeling yourself in the moment, but there is still a photo like taken,
Yeah.
even if it's not in the best circumstances. And I read that and I just went, damn, yeah, there is this consistent pressure, and it's a very very interesting kind of like tension point to reflect on, just like
Yeah.
because it happens that your humanity doesn't stop just because you're a parent.
This is very true, but also fatigue and community actually answer one another. They're opposite ends. They're almost opposite ends of a scale, because um, all parents feel that fatigue, but the more community they have, the more people they can rely on to help them raise their children. like they get the chance to recover for certain
Yes.
periods of time. Like you get to set like some people can send their kids to their grandparents' house
Yeah.
and have like an evening or a few days where they can kind of relax, reset, take care of
Mm,
themselves. And that's why I chose 3 stat points that you have to distribute between the two.
yes.
Because the higher the community that you have, the less likely that you're going to feel fatigued.
Fatigued.
And if
Yep.
you have all of the community around you, then, like, yes, you'll still feel like that base level of fatigue, but
Mm,
it's not going to impact, in this instance, like taking the photos and stuff like that. So they are like one, they're correlated in like one will like higher one, lower the other,
yeah.
because that's how it kind of works out in real life. It kind of balances out in that
Yeah.
way.
That's and yeah, and I do like the way that you framed community in the sense of like this can look like a plethora of different ways. Like community
Everyone's
support looks
community is
different.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Community looks different. And that was very nice to read. Um, and in continuation of Sad Girl Hours, we have the mechanics of the suits here with the so when you play through the solo journaling game, you draw cards, and the cards in the playing typical playing card set has different suits. And I this is less of a question and more just wow, you really chose violence with each of these. The
Yes.
yeah, you did, because I read through this and I was like,
Mhm.
the clubs represent a milestone in the child's life, such as the first steps, starting school, or competitive success, and it made me think of the photo that you have as the cover of this beautiful book, and it made me think of wow, if you are recording your child making their first steps walking towards you, you sure are not in that photo. You sure are not in that video. Ow.
Mhm.
Ouch. And then there's the diamonds, which is a cultural holiday, or a random day off work, or a bank holiday. And it made me think of like, I mean, now with the advent of phones, selfies are a thing, which is I think helped
Mhm.
a bit more. But I have been the person that's like behind the photo, being like, all right, family, I need you, or like friends, I need you to like huddle together so I can take this photo of you all. Uh,
Mhm.
and then the
Mhm.
hearts, which is a birthday for character, child, someone in the community, which is always kind of like typically birthdays are one of the few moments in family albums where we try to ensure that everyone's in the photo. But still, there's also
Mhm.
those elements of like if you're a parent taking a photo of their kid with their friends, you're not in the photo,
Mm.
are you? Uh,
People get left out. We've all seen Encanto.
we have all seen Encanto. I watched that last Christmas, so this is particularly topical for me. And Spade, which is an outdoor event, which is very, very cute. And when you draw a card, you receive a prompt, and you draw a number of cards equal to 1 plus your community score, and select one card to describe the photo. And it's a very cool. These prompts were violent. Hey, Taylor, why?
Yes.
Why?
Okay.
Why violence?
Because so like the thing is like when you're role playing, it has to be something evocative, right? And it needs to be something that's relatable.
Mm-hmm.
So all of like I specifically matched the prompts to the suit. So
Mm-hmm.
clubs like competitive successes like swim club kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Oh,
Um,
that's
like
clever. That's
diamonds,
clever.
diamonds. I associate with like not. I don't associate with gifts. Like people gift me diamonds because people do not gift me diamonds. Otherwise I'd be making TTRPGs with a way higher budget because I would sell those diamonds for an art budget in a heartbeat. But it's
No, the
like,
art budget.
um, but like also diamonds are made with pressure, and when do you feel pressure most? On a cultural
A culture.
holiday.
Ain't that the truth?
Amen. But hearts, obviously, for people that you love, which is why it's the birthdays for community members, and spades, because I was like, oh, stuff outdoors, you tend to
Mhm.
like take photos, and you dig at a beach, so spades it is.
Yes, they're
Uh,
very thematic. I love them.
yeah,
This is really good.
I was very proud of these.
And you should be. I just read them and I was like, damn, no one's designing like indie designers and the violent questions y'all ask. I aspire to that level of violence in The Beast Within. That's my dream.
I hope that you get that.
I
But like, I'll be
soon.
honest. I'll be honest. Like, one of the highlights of my fan fiction career was I wrote a just like a one shot. Not one shot. What are they called when it's just one chapter? Because one shot is
Oh god, there
TTRPGs.
is a specific name for it.
They've got a name. Chat, help me out, please.
Oh god, how do I not remember? I wrote fan fiction. Hello?
Chat, I'm looking at the chat. No, not a drabble, because a drabble is like 100 words or less. Like, I'm talking about like a one chapter fic.
Are they also one shots? Are they also called one shots?
I think they might also be called not headcanon. I think they're also called one shots. They might actually be.
Oh my goodness,
right?
so they're actually called one shots. It's so funny. Thanks, chat.
But like I did like a Harry Potter one, because again Harry Potter was big at the time. About like what happened after Fred died and like his ghost going like beyond and stuff like that. And in the year of our Lord 2023, people still comment on that saying that they cry when they read it. And you know what? I'm bringing that energy to TTRPGs, baby. Yes. If I'm gonna be sad, you're gonna be sad with me, and I want you to cry.
Sakura hours, it's time to cry. I love that so much. And Sakura hours,
like an hour or two.
It's gender neutral. I Valiant Dorian now decree Sakura hours is gender neutral.
Thank you. It's just like magical girls, you know? Like girls. Everyone's a magical girl and everyone's a sad girl, and that's okay.
Exactly. But yes, I love the way that you've done this. As we mentioned before, jokers are when the game begins to end. And then that is when you finally see yourself appearing in the photos. And then this is immediately followed up by again violent scene questions. Highlights for me honestly is the question of, is anyone else in the picture, and what was happening outside of the frame at the time you took this. That one in particular, what was happening outside of the frame at the time you took this photo? Because I immediately these questions are so incredibly vivid. They're so they immediately set the tone. Because when I read that question, I immediately think, oh, it's a birthday party. Everyone is like cat, especially if it's like a young child's birthday party, right? It's cat herding. You're hurting so many things. You're doing so many things at once, and people are also taking photos. And I just imagine that kind of like chaos immediately in that scene. And what inspired you to think about those outside of the frame? Because you're clearly alluding to other than just the parent being outside of the frame as well.
Like, so sad girl hours.
Yeah.
You know when like there's like the person who refuses to be in the photo because they're mad at somebody, and everyone else is like having to force a smile and look at the photographer.
Oh my god.
Well, well, like one of like the aunts or the dads is like off in the corner, like in a huff because they had a falling out, and now they are refusing to cooperate.
I did not ask to be called out in the that is such a specific experience, and yet I feel like I've been sniped. I'm like,
we've all had it. We've all had it.
No, it's so true. Oh Lord.
Yep. Like that's the one extreme. The other extreme is like, you know, those photos, like the photos that you got before phones, like of like the camera photos where you're in a blur as you're doing something, like running towards something. Yeah. It's like, okay, if you want to choose that style of photo, and please do, because not every photo should be sad. But like, if like it's like like the kids are running towards something, but what are they running towards? What has dictated the expression that you've decided is on their face? So it's a way to kind of encourage that peripheral thinking as well, because like the game wants you to think about what like the photographer.
Mm.
But the photographer is not like the only thing, and it's to encourage that like lateral thinking, like building out the scenario, not just focusing in on the box. It's like, well, what is outside of the frame?
Mm. Yeah,
So that's my first thought.
I love that as well because it, other than thinking of like what was missed out on and all the fatigue, I kind of also like thinking about it in a hopeful frame of the sense of like, hey, a lot was going on that day, and it's okay to give yourself some grace, in this
Yeah.
moment, which I think just as important as like reflecting over some of the resonant themes in this game, as you're concluding it, right? And then we come to concluding the game, which is a moment of reflection. It happens when the Joker card is pulled, and you answer more questions when you finally see a photo of yourself with your child. And these are, again, brilliant questions. I'm not going to read all of them because I want you all to experience it yourselves. And I love the question of looking back on their child's early life, is anything you would change? And we kind of talked about this already when you mentioned the inspiration behind your game, and parenthood as continuous learning,
Yeah.
and improving. And how do you feel about that as like a resonant theme in concluding the game, and perhaps a hopeful reflection as you're concluding this game?
So I think with any story that you tell that isn't meticulously pre-planned, so
Mm.
a lot of TPGs, you have regrets.
Yeah.
And in Parenthood, continuous learning, I have regrets all the time. I wish I'd handled things differently. I wish I like asked people to take more photos in this case. I wish
Mhm.
I had done more. And it's so, and I think a lot of the time we have regrets and we kind of let them sit inside our chest
Mm.
and we don't say them out loud.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do with this question is create a space for you to go, you know what? My character wishes they had done XYZ differently, because
Mm.
you're creating your own narrative and you can insert your own themes. You can have an ongoing storyline if you want.
Yeah.
Like, um, and this is like that space where I want you to be able to acknowledge it
Mm.
and then let it go. Leave it at the end of the game.
Mm.
Like, don't carry that with you,
Yeah.
because like that is not healthy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically the aim of this specific question was to make space for you to go, you know what, I don't like how this story came out, I wish
Mm.
my character had done this instead.
Yeah.
And
It's
then you can kind of
catharsis.
close the book.
So
Yeah.
it's this good helpful catharsis, I think, is how I see it. And
Hmm.
it's, I love the idea of like when you are in a game that's so intimate, like having those avenues to almost facilitate decompression. It sounds like is the are these reflective questions, because you do mention like decompressing after experiencing this
Mm.
game, uh and I think that's so cool that you do that. It's so incredibly important,
Mm.
to decompress. How is what is your favorite decompression ritual? What is your recommended? Designer of this game, give us some structure. What is favorite decompression ritual post this game?
Um, Not post this game, because I actually haven't played my own game, which I know is a little bit bad of me.
Listen,
But
listen, you are so valid. You are so valid.
yeah, I haven't played my own game, but in general, I love my husband dearly, and he also likes to play games. But
Mm,
we don't always play in the same games, and so something I like to do, even if we've played together, is I like to talk to him afterwards and be like, "This is what I was experiencing. This is what I was feeling," and
mm,
just kind of put the words out loud.
mm,
Um, or if it's not necessarily something like that I can do, I actually do journal. I've started
mm,
journaling very recently, and I found that writing it down, like like my emotions, especially if like you know, when you take a step back and you're like, oh no, you felt a little bit like irrationally angry about how this other player reacted
Mm,
in the game. Like they were just having fun in their way.
yeah.
So I write it down and then kind of put it to the side because that helps me like processing. But I'm a writer. I've been writing for forever, so
Yeah.
that helps me. But one thing I did when I was designing this game is I went and I had a look at different decompression techniques and I put a
Yeah.
few in there for the aftercare. Because if you live inside of your own head and it gets heavy, like you can't stay there, and like the
Yes.
game has to end. And everyone is different, so I was like, I'll just put a couple of different ones in
Mm,
there. So that way, people who maybe don't know how to decompress, because
mm-hmm.
when I started TTRPGs, I did not know how to decompress,
Yep.
and there was a lot of emotional bleed that wasn't healthy. Um, so I was like, okay, if you don't know and you've picked up this heavy game and you want to play it, good. We're going to point you in the right direction and then you're going to have to figure that part out
Yeah.
yourself. But at least I know that I've done my due diligence
Yes.
in like starting to lead you there.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's so important. And you're doing a great job. And I love this game. You should go and check it out. Pinned in the chat. Go and click it. Go and support it. Amazing. As we begin to wrap up, folks in the chat, this is the Q&A segment. Please drop your questions in chat for us to answer as we talk about aspects of family album, whether it's questions about the game, questions to Taylor as a game designer, and we'll continuously chat about that. And as we begin sort of wrapping things up, we'll set a couple minutes for folks to do that. But thank you, Taylor, first of all, for making this game. It made me have a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts. Especially thinking a lot about the burdens of motherhood constantly, especially again, mostly because of TikTok, in all honesty, because it's like
TikTok has been like a godsend for mothers, for eldest daughters, like
yeah,
having people
yeah,
be like, no, you're not silly, you're not stuck in your own head. This is a
yeah,
thing
it's
that we
true.
all are going through. And I'm like, oh yes, thank you.
Yeah, I just keep
Like,
reading like, especially a lot of like mothers being like, I shouldn't have to like consistently prescribe to my partner what needs to be done, and that made me go, I cannot be, I need to make sure I'm a good partner. Like, no, I'll be so attentive. Amazing. We do have a question. Are you planning on making any more family themed games? From Wait for Sarcasm, your sister.
now listen here. No. So the thing is, I don't actually plan to make them until they kind of happen. So
Mm,
with Encounters, which was like the first kind of family thing that I did, it was very much I was looking at what I could do and I found something that I could kind of link to what I was going through. And it kind of opened up a pathway of like, oh, like Dice of Life I made in a single day because I needed to vent about how difficult I was finding existing.
mm,
You know, so and then Family Album came about as like a kind of natural
mm.
like foray into making indie games.
Yeah.
I probably will because like when you look at my character, I'm gonna call it a character arc because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Of starting TTRPGs as a way to kind of escape parenthood for a couple of hours.
Mm,
And now I'm actively making games about parenthood and I'm sharing those experiences
mm-hmm.
and the struggles. I hope one day I'll make a nice one. Like, not that the game's not nice, but like one that encourages positive experiences.
Like joy. Yeah, like active
Like
joy.
joy. Like, the thing is, you can feel joy playing this game. I think if you come into it with the right frame of mind, it's all about perspective, and everyone is different. Um, but so maybe, probably, but like no plans at the moment. I want to kind of enter my OMG I'm so random era
Not the
of
OMG, I'm so random XD.
like yeah, that one. Like so my friend Ethan Yan, go look him up on Twitter, is currently planning a game where you just play as like big bumblebees, like just toddler sized bumblebees. And I think that's so fun and it's so different. It's like, oh no, I want to make a game where, like, because the games that I've made have been all very, very serious. And the next game that I've kind of started making, Chef's Party, is a more fun one. It's like community themed still, but it's like you're all cooking together, and that's kind of, I'm starting to get on that tangent of making things that are more fun.
Yeah.
And communal.
Yes, you deserve.
And so I wanna thank you. I wanna fully lean into, okay, what is the silliest TTRPG that I could possibly make?
Yeah.
I kind of go for that before I come back to like hardcore Taylor core, you know?
Yeah. Oh, of course. It's good to allow yourself to like have that fun as a game designer. We do have a very interesting couple of questions here from Azra. As an indie designer, how do you lean into your design choices and niche decisions? How do you maintain that mindset?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if anyone here is like a crafter, but I think of mechanics as a tool to create something. So like one of my hobbies is that I like knit and I crochet. So when I'm thinking about what kind of jumper I think about, well, what colors I want to make it with, how easy, difficult I want it to be. Am I gonna do loads of small little stitches, or am I gonna do like big ones to make the process faster? And I think that kind of mindset of selecting the right tool for the job transfers over to like TTRPG, like game design. In the sense that with Family Album, because the theme was so strong and I was trying so hard to convey a specific experience, the core mechanics didn't actually change all that much. Like anything that changed in playtesting was just refining like the terminology to convey how I needed you to play the game.
Yeah.
You know? Even the introduction stayed almost identical, I think, from the first draft to the final thing. So it was always, every decision I made was like, okay, how, like, I need something to convey this. And it was like selecting those tools. For everyone, it's gonna be different. For some people, like you're gonna go and bounce around different things. But I've always been quite stubborn and be like, no, I know what I want, and I want this. And luckily, I had some very heavy inspiration from her Odyssey, because I don't know that I would have picked the playing cards without having read that game. But the second I did, and I was like, okay, I see how you're using it. I want to use it in this way. That was very much it. But it's a case of, unfortunately, if you're indecisive, it's going to be difficult. But if you know what you want, and you're not afraid to break some rules, like, hopefully that helps, because rules should be what you want them to be.
Yeah.
Especially in indies.
Yeah. I love make like the idea of breaking rules. I 100% enjoy. I think also what you pointed out there of like specificity, I think assists as well in curating niche decisions and like design choices. If what you're doing is particular and specific, it's easier to stick to your guns, because this is what I want. This is the experience I'm trying to have, and that's okay. You should enjoy the experience. Enjoy the experience of game design. Another question you have is, what other work have you got coming out from Wait for Sarcasm?
I have an audience plan, everyone. Thanks. I love you.
Thanks, audience plan. Shout out to the audience.
Thanks,
plan.
audience. Honestly, I love my sister so much. Comes to all of my streams. Biggest fan. The best. So what have I got coming up? So I briefly mentioned Chef's Party, which is a mini game to be played inside your main RPG campaign. It's where you and your fellow party members get together and you cook a meal. And if you do really poorly, you're gonna get food poisoning. And if you do really well, it's gonna give you a boon. The core mechanics are very, very simple and very, very short. The thing that I really love about this game is everybody else's contributions. So I've hired a team of 6 amazing writers, who I'll list out in a second. But what they have done is they have made recipes, like described like a plate of food, and then showcased how the minigame rules will interact with the system rules.
Yeah.
So, like for example, D&D 5e, if you fail and your group gets food poisoning from eating this meal, like you're gonna be poisoned for 1d4 days, and you only are healed through lesser restoration. If you like make a dish in Blades in the Dark, like you can gain coin and you can be in a more advantageous position because of like this shared meal that you've had. Like, so they're showcasing how the rules interact with different systems, which I really think it makes it very special. So that is Puna, Austin Taylor, Basil Wright, Danny Quash, DT Honey Saint, and Aaron Roberts are my six.
Love them all.
Are my six writers. We've got Nala J. Wu doing graphic layout design, and their name is Bloody Mary online, but Mary is spelled Mari. Who is one of the editors for Tales from Sina Una. So this is one of her first projects in the TTRPG space. So I'm very excited to have her on board for me with that, because she was great in Tales, and I was like, please come over and let me work with you again.
I love that so much. I'm so excited. I kind of wish this game came out when I was running my home game regularly, because this sounds like the perfect thing for me to throw at my party. Because there were some days, you know, when folks are low on spoons on like getting to like the storyline, they just kind of want to hang out with friend but also play game. Like that would have been like the perfect thing for them. We've got a question from Gainer. Hi Gainer, welcome to chat. I saw you, but we were chatting. Taylor, love to see you, and of course love your work. What do you think the strengths and weaknesses are of the card-based system, and what types of games do you think it might work well with?
I think the card-based system is very good for narrative-heavy games. I think in games where you're trying to tell a specific story where you don't want failure to be an option, or you like want failure to be very hard, like, because like you can always have the cards and dice, but I think that sudden, like, in my opinion, it makes games like too cluttered because you need too many instruments to play.
Yeah.
But in games where you're just like, okay, you know the genre or you know the theme, having cards makes it easier. You're not having to do math. You're not having to consult tables necessarily. It's just a case of, okay, you can get a prompt and go. But then on the flip side of that, you can always run out of ideas. Like if the category is too general, like for example cultural holidays, well, if you don't want to like do a repeat of Christmas, I mean, luckily cultural holidays happen like every single year for the most part, but if you don't want to do those repeats, then you kind of suddenly are like, okay, right, well, I guess I could do Easter, and then I guess I could do St. Patrick's Day. Oh gosh, what other holidays are there? So it, like, there's always the issue with TTRPGs of being too vague and leaving too much room for people who don't have like that kind of it feels mean to say scope of imagination. That's not quite
it's
what
just
I mean.
Sometimes people need prompts, right? Like it's like structure.
Yeah, sometimes people need
I need
more
structure
than others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so that is like one of the downsides of using the card-based system. But I think the upside is having it replace dice, and then you know when you're like reading this game, okay, it's actually going to be very narratively heavy. I think it's a good kind of pros and cons.
It's yeah, I agree. I think that's where a deck of cards really shines, especially, you know, think about all your tarot-based systems that exist out there, whether it's indie or not. Like they lend themselves very well to like strong narrative themes, strong just general theming. I mean, just look at Decuma, the world building game, the R&D for your TTRPG. When we covered it here, reading through all the different arcana shows you how well like cards lend themselves to themes, because they have suits. That's how cards work. it helps.
It helps.
Amazing. Do folks have any other questions before we wrap up? It's been such a pleasure as always, Taylor,
So
to
much for having
talk with
me.
you. I literally anytime you need somebody to do a thing for Chesty Party, I will do it. Like this game sounds so much fun. You do such incredible work. And
Thank you so
like
much.
I own exactly two solo journaling games. And that is I might have more from like bundles. I haven't looked at because there's some bundles that are so big I'm too scared to open them. Uh,
That's so valid. We've all been there.
I'm like I look at them on my itch.io page and I go, if I hit download on that baby, I will be so overwhelmed. I'm gonna wait. I own exactly two, and that's Family Album and 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, which I I love a lot. I've yet to play it, but I do want to at some point. We do have a question. What advice, and I think with this question we will wrap up. We'll be hitting exactly 2 hours. What advice would you give to game designers who are hesitant to get started, or where should they start?
Okay. My gut instinct, and I'm going to develop this
Okay.
as I begin talking. But we're just gonna, you know what? Fuck it, we ball. Rip off a game that you like. Literally take a game. Like, take a game, make the bootleg version that you're gonna sell on the street at a holiday spot. But no. So what I mean by that is, like, look at a game that you like, and then research and analysis is a skill, and it's a skill that you're gonna have to develop. And basically, taking the cover for something, going, okay, well, what makes this tick? So for example, like in Dungeons and Dragons, like look at like an encounter that you like on the DM skills, and then like change a couple of things, and see what happens then. Like there are loads of great systems to like get you started, especially for the indie side. There's Caltrop Core, which I've mentioned. There's Iron Core, which is what Chef's Party runs on. If you type in like SRDs into itch.io, like different things are gonna come up, different bases for you to make a game. I like Caltrop Core because you only need a D4, and it's like failure, partial success, success. And that's what you need to make your first game. Take something that is so simple and just flavor it, you know? Like, okay, this is a story about a postman going across a mountain, you know, to deliver a letter. You roll for what he's going to encounter. Here's a roll table. Like, just basically take those elements that you recognize from a game that you like, and then just make it a little bit different. Fanfic it, fam. And then from the... seriously, but like the thing that really bothers me, I'm about to go on a rant, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The thing that really bothers me about TTRPGs is there is no formal learning system. The Storytelling Collective is the closest that you're gonna get, but that doesn't necessarily teach you all of like the niche rules that you need for designing games for a particular system or just in general. You know, because they're lovely folks, but they can't cover everything, because that would be like more than like a 10-week course, you know. That would be like a years-long course. And if your college or your university is offering you game design courses for tabletop, it's trash. They're outdated. Don't do it.
They get outdated so fast.
They get outdated so fast. Literally, the only way that you are going to learn how to do something is if you make it yourself. And your first one's going to be shit, and you're going to do it by yourself. But that's okay. You can put it somewhere, and people might give you feedback. They might not. And sometimes you don't actually want their feedback anyway. Like, what you want is to then go and find people who are also making like their shitty first things. And then you want to talk to them, and you want to grow together, and you want to talk to somebody who's like maybe like made like 4 or 5 shitty things, and be like, well, what did you learn? And then they'll tell you, because people in TTRPGs are really nice. Sometimes you'll have to pay a consultation fee. Sometimes they'll just have like an hour-long conversation with you. It really depends. But the only way you learn how to make a game in this industry is by doing and failing, and you're gonna fail a lot. And that's valid. Like, I was reading this through, and I noticed multiple spelling mistakes and like random letters that shouldn't have gotten into the final version. And I've
I
been
did
making
not
games for
notice.
years.
That's the
Oh,
ADHD, baby.
you know what? Thank goodness, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that. But like seriously, do, fail, learn. Literally take your favorite thing, pull it apart, and be like, okay, I'm going to rebuild you, but I've painted you pink, so nobody will be able to tell you're legally distinct now. Like, but do it obviously. Like when I say fanfic, it like don't blatantly rip something off. Like maybe don't bootleg it, but like take that, learn from it, publish it if it's distinct enough. Like show it to other people and be like, hey, I'm trying this. Play it, get other people. The important thing is get other people to play it. Get somebody who's not you, cursed with the burden of knowledge, to play your game, because you will fix things on the fly, and that is bad. And if people are playing and they don't play it the way you want to, then you get personally upset and have to go and decompress for a long time, because how could they not get the point of your game? But if somebody else is running it and you see that they're not delivering it right and the players aren't getting it right, it means you can kind of from that objective seat go, oh hey, I have not worded this correctly. Let's see what the feedback says. Where do I need to really hone in? And that lesson I learned from my husband, who doesn't do game design.
Amazing. I love that.
But yeah, there's no formal learning for TTRPGs. There are resources that can help you start making a game, but I think the only resource that you truly need is a game that you like and an SRD. And then, so SRD is a system reference document. I realized I was using terminology that new people might not
It's
understand.
okay.
But it's a systems reference document which basically tells you, okay, these are the mechanics to play a game. Create a story around them. You know, take one of those, make a game, and just do. Like, that is the way that you end up being a game designer. It's just honestly flying by the seat of your pants and hoping that you don't get too close to the sun.
That is so true. I am retweeting everything Taylor just said. I mean, The Beast Within was inspired by a very, very extremely niche video game I played growing up, called Bloody Roar. And then now
Nice.
it's a bigger thing. And you know, the mistake I made was not making a tiny small thing first. I think I've made like homebrew stuff. But I'm very happy with The Beast Within. I think I am.
It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have fun. But big advice, kind of like big takes on what Taylor just said. Do not let perfect get in the way of good, is a mantra I say all the freaking time. You know what? If it's not good,
perfect.
yeah, if it's not perfect for us, go. Guess what? If D&D, if Wizards of the Coast can have 5 editions of their big game, you can have 5 editions of your game.
More than 5 editions, because you've got AD&D and you've got 3.5.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so you can do it. You can do it too. Just because you've not been around since the 80s doesn't mean that you're not allowed to do it. Yeah. Like, there's no time limit on that.
Yeah, exactly. You can go. Listen, if Cyberpunk 2077, a full game from a AAA studio, could come up with a game that barely functioned and then immediately go, hey, we're quickly patching it, you can have patch notes. You can have little patch notes.
Some people do. Some people do have patch notes on itch.io for their TTRPGs.
Yeah, just do
that.
So
do it.
Do it. I implore you to do it. Like, if that's
Wait,
the
thing. Wait, it's called an ashcan. That's the correct terminology.
Ashcan,
it's publishing something that is not necessarily complete and then you update later, because the thing is, when you sell your game online, most websites, if you update the file, it automatically goes to whoever has already bought it, or it sends them a nice little email saying, oh, the publisher has done a new version and go here to download it. So you don't need to worry or have the guilt of people have spent money on the rubbish version. So like they'll get the better version too,
Yeah.
and then they'll be like, wow, cool, I'll play this again because I have moved on to the next 27
Yeah.
games, and now I'm back for more. That's great. We love that. And
Exactly.
maybe they'll remember to leave a review this time. We hope. We pray.
We hope and we pray. Please rate and comment on your favorite creator stuff. It helps. Uh and so yeah,
Truly.
that's the big mantra. And also playtesting. Playtest more, playtest often, and playtest because it's fun to do, not because you have to do it. Uh it's fun. That's one thing I've learned from Aaron. Playtesting is fun. Enjoy it. Do not.
And does playtesting like nobody else. I honestly am in awe of how like playtest zero goes.
Oh my
It's
goodness, yeah,
incredible.
playtest. I need to bring the Beast Within to playtest zero, at some point, but we've got so many playtest sessions scheduled. Amazing. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, Taylor, for being here. Um,
Thank you for having
let
me.
I am going to have you let folks know where they can find you, what you do, and any of your big projects you would like to hype up in this chat. Go ahead.
Okay, so as a reminder, my name is Taylor Navarro, she, her pronouns. You can find me on, hang on, let me grab my notes, at Taylor Ann NX. It's in the chat
Yes,
on
it
Twitter.
is.
The one that's not in the chat, you could literally type my name, Taylor Navarro, into LinkedIn and you can follow me. Don't add me to your network because I don't know you, but you can follow me there and see my updates on project management and how to do project management and editing and writing within your TTRPGs. You can also go to my website, taylornavarro.ttrpgs.card.co to get up to date with anything that I do. I try and update that anytime a new announcement is made. We've spoken about Chef's Party, which is my most recent and next game. I guess we're literally in the middle of. I've just got everyone's drafts back and I've passed them over to the editor and I've looked at them and they're so cool. Like, I'm very excited for that game. I'm also the producer over at Tales from Sina Una. Sina Una is an all Filipino creative team set in the pre-colonial Philippine-inspired world of Sina Una. It's an adventure anthology. You can go and you can pre-order it through, I believe it's BackerKit or Kickstarter. If you type in Tales from Sina Una Kickstarter into your search engine of choice, it'll come up and you'll be directed to the pre-order page. That is coming out. The PDF is coming out very early 2024, so we're hoping like end of January, early February release on that, with the physical copies coming out later in the year through Hit Point Press. So that is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I've been managing this team for over a year now. I believe it's been 14 months. And I've read every single adventure, every single, like, there are new races, there's new subclasses, there's new lore for the stuff that they did in the first book. Oh, when I say it is so good. And if you like Sad Girl Hours, there are adventures that have Sad Girl vibes in them as well.
God.
Like there are like great dungeon crawl adventures. There are great like oh the range of stuff that's in that. It's beautiful, and you're supporting a completely POC team while you do it as well. So that is fantastic, and you should definitely go and check that out. And I think that's everything. Oh, I guess if you like D&D, Ghostfire Gaming has currently got a Kickstarter going for Enchanting Emporiums. I wrote a shop on that. The Wayward Wheel, it's mentioned in like the little description as well. So if you like steampunk airships that are controlled by things that aren't gears, then I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about that. So I'm just gonna say, hey, I made a thing in that, and you should go and check it out
Yeah.
as well.
I love that. Thank you so much, Taylor, for being a part of Designer
Thank you for
Spotlight.
having me.
It's a pleasure. And if you
I
are,
love talking to you.
I'm talking too. If you are a game designer and you would like to be on Designer Spotlight, we do have a Google form. Please, I just posted it in chat because my commands hate me. Please go and register your interest. I'll get in contact with you probably after the holidays because we've got some stuff coming out. And speaking of stuff that's coming out specifically for this channel, we have a Designer Spotlight featuring at Breathing Stories, aka Logan, coming up soon. Please check out my socials for more information on that. as it happens. Huge shout out to some of the stuff that's happening immediately tomorrow. Uh, don't tell me not even my transplaner. Why are none of my commands working? It is fine. You all know about transplaner RPG. We just concluded Arc 1. It is hashtag SadGirl Hours. You should go and check us out. This is the perfect opportunity to catch up on the entirety of Arc 1 before we premiere with Arc 2 on January 6, 2024. And tomorrow we have our cast Q&A. If you want to come check us out, I believe we're going live at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/transplanerrpg. Come and ask us questions. Ask me where Sarah's name comes from. Ask me what his favorite food is. We'll be taking questions from chat. Please come and hang out with us. We're so happy and excited to answer any and all questions about the Chaos Protocol. Other things that I'm going to be a part of, you can find out on my Discord. Please go and check out my Discord, and that command's also not going to work. That's fine. I will suffer instead. This is so rude. This is honestly so rude. Just know that if you're a part of my Discord, you will know a bunch of... There should be a panel right down below. You should be able to click and just join. But just know that's the easiest place for you to learn about all of my upcoming projects and all the streams that I'm going to be doing on this channel. And it is also where you would get higher priority to go and playtest my upcoming game, The Beast Within. We have a playtest session already scheduled for the Discord folks. So you should come and join and hang out with us. And finally, for all the lovely folks who have been waiting so patiently to the end of this stream to hang out with us, I have a special announcement. The itch.io pre-order store for The Beast Within First Edition is now live. Please go and support us. Go and if you missed out on the opportunity to back us on Crowdfunder, go ahead. You can now pre-order here. Please go and check out the itch.io store. I will be uploading all the development logs there as well, so it's all the more reason for you to add it to your collection. Go and follow it, and follow me on itch.io. Please enjoy. Also, there might be a special little reveal on who the character for our trading card reward is. The first 20 people to purchase the pre-order will receive the Beast Within trading card. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all for hanging out with us. As we wrap things up, thank you again to Taylor for joining us on Designer Spotlight. Do not touch that dial. We will be rating some amazing folks. Let's see who is online right now and doing TTRPG stuff. I see Happy Capster's online right now playing Baldur's Gate. Let's go and raid Happy Capster right now and show them some SpiritBear love. So go ahead, please join us for this incredible raid. Get channel points and show another creator great love. And I will see you tomorrow on twitch.tv/transplanerrpg for our cast Q&A. And with that, thank you all so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.